Thank you, Spanky. I appreciate that, and I will tell you that this one won't take as long because I'm not going back 150 years, only going back about 70 years. But ladies and gentlemen, tonight it's my privilege to introduce one of this year's recipients to the National Auctioneers Association Hall of Fame. And even though this person is younger than I am, as most of you are anyway, but he's been a mentor to me for a long time. His knowledge and execution of the auction method of marketing is unbelievable. When I start telling you about his life, you're going to know immediately, or he is rather, who I'm talking about. But that's all right, because it's more important for you to know what he has done in the auction business and about his dedication to the auction profession. Our recipient tonight was born and raised in small textile towns in the southeastern United States. He served 2 terms with the Navy Seabees in Vietnam during the 1960s. After that, he moved to the largest metropolitan area in the Southeast, and he furthered his education by graduating from 2 institutions of higher education with an associate's degree in industrial management and a bachelor's degree in economics. He started his profession, as I did, for a short time in the banking industry. And then in the mid-1970s, our recipient went into the auction business with one of the leading auction companies in the Southeast at that time. While working with that company, he became president of their real estate division, and he was responsible for leading that company to prominence and a national leader in the sale of FDIC, RTC, Fannie Mae auctions of real estate, and financial instruments throughout the United States. In 1996, he founded his own company, and he moved it forward in becoming one of the finest and most respected auction companies in the nation today. His company has been a great leader in the FDIC lost share sales, and in 2011 alone, he represented the FDIC in 18 different sales across this great nation. Along the way, our recipient tonight has found time to give back to his profession, and especially to this association, his time, his talent, his abilities, and his resources. He's been a member of the NAA for over 30 years. He's a past director of the NAA. He graduated from CAI in 1987. He's a past member of the AMI Board of Governors. He's a past trustee of the NAA Education Institute. He's a popular NAA seminar instructor, and he presently serves as a member of the trustees of the National Auctioneers Foundation. On the state level, he's been a member of his state association for over 35 years. He's a past chairman, president, vice president, director of that association. He's a member of his state association Hall of Fame, and he's a licensed auctioneer in 8 states. Our recipient is also a member of the National Association of Realtors. He's a real estate broker in several states, and he's a graduate of the Realtors CCIM program. This man is a very active member of the Johns Creek Baptist Church, where he served as past chairman of the Board of Deacons. He's a member of the Stewardship Committee, a preschool leader, and on the Ushers Committee. And you know, I got to thinking, most auctioneers that I've ever heard of are all on the Ushers Committee. And I think that's because they like to have control of that crowd and taking up that offering every week. Now, I don't know whether it's true or not, but somebody told me that was a member of that church that one day he was taking up the offering and he started to pass the plate down the aisle, and somebody put in a $5 bill. And he leaned down to him, Paul, and says, "Would you give just a little bit more? If you'll give just a little bit more, I'll promise you I'll never ask you again." Now, if that doesn't sound like an auctioneer or a ring man, I don't know what does. I don't know whether it's true or not, but that's what I heard. a very devoted family man. He's been married to his wife, Linda, for 48 years. They have 2 children, a son, Drew, who works by his side as the lead auctioneer for the company, Drew's wife, Stephanie, who works with them in the business, and their 2 sons, Austin and Brody, are here tonight. He has a daughter, Courtney, and her husband, Jay Wagner, who was previously with the company. They have 3 children, Graylin, Walker, and Mary Briggs. Now, Linda may not work in the office and be a part of that daily scene, but I assure you that she is an important part of the team, because you see, the first thing our recipient does when an auction sale is over is call his wife and tell her what happened at the sale. And she always assures him that she's been praying for the success of that sale, not just for him or the sales manager, but for the client as well. And as all of us in the auction business know, we need those kind of prayers. When the Hall of Fame committee considers someone for induction, someone usually says, well, I know that that person is a good person, a good man, a good woman, but what have they done for the auction profession? Well, I assure you that our inductee tonight carries the auction banner high and boldly for the entire auction profession. And you can see by his involvement and his dedication to this association that it is at the forefront of his life's work. You know, this is pretty much the same presentation I made about our recipient about 10 years ago when I had the honor to induct him into a State Association Hall of Fame. But tonight there's a postscript to that presentation, and it is this. Those of you who know me know that for over 40 years I worked for a man who was like a father to me, and nowhere in my wildest dreams did I ever think I would leave that company. But times change. Sometimes you do what you think is best. And this man, this recipient that we are having and honoring tonight, gave a senior auctioneer the opportunity to remain in the auction business. Again, notice I said a senior auctioneer, not an old auctioneer. And for this, I will ever be grateful. Because you see, I love working for this man. I'm proud to work for his son, and I'm honored to be associated with his entire staff. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the newest member to the National Auctioneers Hall of Fame from the great state of Georgia, John Dixon. Linda, would you put his pen on for him? Linda's going to be placing the pen on him, and I'll read his plaque as well. Presented to John Dixon, CAI, Marietta, Georgia, in recognition and appreciation of his outstanding contribution to the profession of auctioneers and the National Auctioneers Association as a 2013 Hall of Fame award recipient.
You know, Joe said that it was a privilege of his to come to work with me. I've never had a better privilege for anybody to come with me than Joe Tarpley. And believe me, all of you here know that. Joe worked for perhaps the greatest auction person that I've ever known, and many of you, and it is a sincere pleasure to have him with me. I'm going to try to introduce everybody up here. I do know them. That's not the problem. The problem is, and some of you might have heard me say this before, I get emotional at a Lassie rerun. So I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but I can't tell you how much I appreciate this honor. It is a great honor, more than I could possibly express. I knew when Linda told me, when we got ready to leave, I used to wear a tie every day. I mean, for 25 years I did, but now that I don't anymore, and Drew and KJ have taken over some of the responsibilities, and I'm not there all day. Normally not every day, and when I'm there, I'm not there all day. I don't wear ties, so I'm getting ready to leave without a tie. She said, don't you think you ought to put a tie on? That should have been and she had stuck one in my suitcase. That should have been a clue to me. And I said, well, why is that? She said, well, everybody there will have on a tie. And then they got here, and they just about did. So that didn't give it away. But I do appreciate it. I appreciate Joe, and I appreciate all my folks. I've got two of my grandchildren here. I've got Austin, my oldest grandchild, and I've got Brody, who is my youngest grandson. I've got one granddaughter that's a little younger, and another granddaughter at home, and another grandson at home, and a daughter and a son-in-law. Let me try to introduce these folks. My wife, Linda. Drew is my lead auctioneer. He's also responsible for all auction operations. Austin, I mentioned. Stephanie works with us. She's responsible for all of our online and our internet advertising. KJ is she's our director of finance and administration, and frankly, runs the company. And Drew runs the auction. Buddy Lee is, I think I heard him say he's 32 years old. I've never seen anybody that could write as much business as he can. I'm very fortunate to have him. He is not allowed to talk to anybody else while he's here except me, but Buddy's the best he's been with me 6 years too, so he came when he was 26, but he kind of grew up in the auction business, but Buddy's our business development hero. And John Gross, now, if I'd seen him, I would have known something was up. John Gross came with me. He met with me. I called John Gross. He was with a number of, he's an institution in Georgia as an auctioneer. He really is. And in a number of, he used to be active in the NAA. He hasn't been lately, but he's really an institution as an auctioneer back home. John, I met with him probably the day I went in business, said, John, can you help me? He said, well, I'll think about it. And he did help me some. It wasn't that much to do. But 2 years later, I think about 2 years later, John, he's been with me since, does a great job. And Drew will tell you that if he has any success and any talent as an auctioneer, an awful lot of it came from John Gross. Bud Lawler's here. Bud, you slipped it. Bud Lawler joined me about, Bud, 5, 6 years ago. And Bud was one of the best clients I had. He was with Wachovia Bank for over 30 years as a trust officer. Retired from the bank, came with me 5 or 6 years ago, and has done a phenomenal job. One of the most best estate people that I know. And Mike Lofton, most of you here know Mike Lofton. Mike has been in the auction business for probably, he looks a lot older, but he's probably been in the auction business about as long as I have. I think Mike told me the other day he's been in the auction business since 1972. Is that 73? 73, and I've been in since 76. But Mike joined me earlier this year, January of this year, and doing a phenomenal job. And with talent like these folks here, it's just any success that I had, I owe it to them and the other folks back home, and to a lot of you out there that I've been able to seek counsel from. But I can't thank you enough, and I appreciate it. Thank you.